I'm Karl Davis, Managing Director of Empire Engineering. Welcome to Flipchart Friday. For today's topic, we're going to be talking about monopole foundations, the transport installation interface. What are the tricky bits? I want to start out by talking about the players. Here we've got the designer. This is Morten. Morten spent the last year obsessing over his foundation design, eking out every piece of steel, making them the most optimized structures he possibly can. Here's Jan. Jan is our T&I contractor. He's recently been appointed to install Morten's foundations. So here's the first tricky bit, monopole upending. So monopole starts out horizontally on the vessel, and we need to get it into the upright position before driving. The way this is typically done is we have some sort of upending shoe on the end, and we hook onto the flange here. Now, I mentioned Morten, the designer. Morten has spent the whole year finessing this flange design, making sure it's perfect. He's asked people to machine this flange perfectly flat after it's been welded on, so it's in pristine condition. Jan, however, wants to use the tools he used on the past project, because they're available to him. Now, if Jan uses those tools, potentially he bends this flange and doesn't work for Morten anymore. So you have this kind of conflict over what the requirements are. Next tricky bit I want to talk about is monopole transportation. So here we have our monopole foundation on a vessel supported in cradles. Now, Morten, our designer, he's designed each of these cans so that they'll last the full 25, 35-year design life of the project. He doesn't want to have to change the design of these cans where the cradles are for this one-off instance of when you're transporting. Jan, however, wants to use the cradles he probably had on his last project, and he wants to keep them as small and as light as possible. So again, we have this contrasting set of requirements from the two guys. The third tricky bit I want to talk about is around the TP transportation. Now, this is quite similar to the monopole transportation. Obviously, we've got a TP upended here sitting on your vessel. Now, the tricky bit with the TP is that Morten doesn't really care about the skirt very much. Once it's in operation, the skirt, all it's doing is hang a boat landing. It's probably supported by some grout. It's not having to work very hard. But in transport, when you've got lots of mass up here in this vessel, which Jan wants to sail in as broader weather windows and rougher conditions as possible to get the project done quickly, we end up with really high stresses in this region because Morten's designed it as light as possible, but Jan has a slightly different purpose for it. So that creates this conflict. Now, I've talked a lot about Morten and Jan. They have very different motivations around the project. But the thing is, they do have things in common. They both like beer, they both like bicycles. And our recommendation is that you want to get very early on in your project, get Morten and Jan together, have a beer, talk about bikes, and share ideas. Thank you for watching. Until next time.